to all the dispossessed youth of Africa, for perpetuation of communion with ancestral spirits through the fight for African freedom, and in the firm faith that the dead, the living, and the unborn will unite to build the destroyed shrines. Selah. Hello and welcome, beloveds, to another episode of Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi Seraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways and that you're moving into living life truly on your own terms. As I always say, beloveds, we're spiritual beings having this human experience, and everything comes from the unseen. So if you're living fully in this physical reality, then you've already lost half the battle. Let's just say that. And someone else is already kind of orchestrating things in your spiritual realm. Hopefully it's your guardian angels. Hopefully it's your ancestors. Hopefully it's, some benevolent beings. But we have to recognize, beloveds, that we are in the end times war, and the war is mental. And I keep saying this, only the fittest of the fittest of the fittest of the fittest mentally shall survive. And I want to highly encourage each and every one of you to expand your thinking, to at least be open to hearing alternative stories, alternative narratives. And in hearing, when you color your world with more than one narrative, then you will find the path that is absolutely right for you. And, in this season, your mental stamina is everything, beloveds. Curfew just ended here in Kenya. So people are like, what? Although, in Africa, if there's curfew, you pay a little something and there's no curfew for you. But those are stories for other days. This is a serious, topic that I'm discussing. But, a lot of people, with everything that's happening with the mandates, people have been emailing me, many nurses, doctors, getting in touch and saying, and others who their jobs are jeopardized. They had to make that choice to leave their job behind. And if you look at the narratives that are going on, even on social media, which is the new media, or even in mainstream media, it's all negative, like the world is ending. And we're even forced to cover that. There are realities, that there are empty shelves in the divided states. I think they're saying now there'll be no eggs and something else for months, which is, if you've refined your diet, then you're going to be good. But there are a lot of different things that we have to be aware of. But there's a comment that touched my soul, literally. And whoever wrote it, shout out to you. I didn't manage to write your name down, and I've been looking through. I can't even remember what video it was. But you said that your higher mind is your heaven. And that just hit so deep, beloveds. So deep. And if your higher mind is your heaven, then that makes your lower mind your hell. Because it's all about what's going on in here. And there's a mystic teacher who always tells me, all is yourself. All is yourself. And I never overstand, because, whenever, especially when I was in some serious spiritual warfare, and I'd be looking at certain people like the opponent or the enemy, they'd be like, all is yourself. Just like they say, the enemy is in me. And so it is so important right now, beloveds, to maintain your equilibrium and make sure you're living in your higher mind way more than you are living in your lower mind. And what is the higher mind? What is the lower mind? The lower mind is just basically, I think I've mentioned this before, it's almost like your reptilian mind. It's your most basic needs. It's everything to do with this physical body, feeding it, clothing it, fight or flight, very basic material thoughts, lust, sex, just using the lower vibe energy, not to create anything, but you're just constantly in it. That's your lower mind, the one that is kind of the matrix mind, That's the lower mind, beloved. The one that's so engaged here with what mainstream media is telling you, what Babylon is saying is going on, and all these things. But you also have a higher mind, and many of us have been locked out from our higher minds. But it's like our higher minds or our higher selves are literally pulling us down. There's like a tug of war right now inside our hearts and souls between our higher mind, which is all about creation, dreaming big, all the wonderful, like your fantasies and your dreams, literally those of, living this way, moving that way, creating wonderful things for yourself, even higher knowledge about how this world and this universe works. That's the higher mind. And that mind we were blocked off from it, beloveds, because we have to be at a certain level of calmness and stillness. And, we have to take control of that lower mind. And in order for us to even hear what the higher mind says, because the higher mind has been with us all along. And it is the higher mind that is now performing the spiritual rescue in our lives, because we are not this. We are spiritual beings having this human experience. And, there's several, I've talked about the 7 laws, the universal laws that literally dictate what is happening on this. And the first one is, your thoughts create your reality, the law of mentalism, that you are projecting your current vibes and everything from your past, which is in your subconscious mind, is literally projecting your future, is literally creating your next steps. And Babylon has hijacked your imagination, has hijacked that lower mind by even creating a world for it and a whole system for it and keeping it occupied, keeping it busy. It has to have a job. It has to do this. It has to cook. It has to feed itself. And so if you don't control that lower mind, then you will lose this final war, which is for your soul, beloveds. It's a mental war. It's all about, what do you believe? What's your perspective? Anyway, let's take a short break. We'll be right back.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, Africa.
Welcome back, beloveds, to Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi Seraki, and it's all about the mind, beloveds. And I did a show on this recently. What does your inner dialogue look like? We are seriously, beloveds, in the end of times, and what will determine which side of the story you end up on will really be the story that you tell yourself, the narrative that you tell yourself. And I feel like I talk about this nearly every week about, controlling what's coming into what you're hearing, what even you're speaking, the kind of conversations you're having, what you're reading, what you're watching, beloveds, what you're watching. And I don't know if anyone else is having this, but I'm like right now, whenever I get onto YouTube for too long, my eyes are getting a bit blurry. And it's not an eye problem. It's just like I really feel like these machines are giving off certain vibes, beloveds, or some of us we're vibing too high, where there's a disconnect. So as much as you concentrate on that, refine what you're eating as well. Speak life over your food and water. I mean, all these things should just be a daily practice. That's why I always say there's so much that you can be doing as Babylon falls and tries to dictate your reality. But I love the person who said this: your heaven is your higher mind. And so what do you think that's how you know, are you in heaven or hell? Because it's your mind that puts you there. And you see, if you start to move into heaven, move into your higher mind, there is so much for you to discover. There is so much for you to do. There is so much for you to release. There is so much for you to build, beloved. It's all about creation. Like you enter a creative cycle. That's heaven. Heaven is creation. Heaven is living out your greatest gift. And your greatest gift is you were born as a creator. And it's funny because a lot of people ask me about, like, what is my PhD on, blah, blah, blah. But I actually studied the mind, beloveds. And the perception of self. That's what I looked into. Little did I know that it's a spiritual thing as well, for real. It's all about this, beloveds. And I think right now it's a season where you can take back your sovereignty. You have way more power over your life than you realize. And so it's absolutely critical and necessary to continuously study your inner dialogue and realize, are your thoughts a vehicle to take you to heaven, or are your thoughts a vehicle that keeps you in hell? And that's why I keep emphasizing clearing out your thoughts, doing the necessary spiritual baths, beloveds, clearing, cleansing, refining yourself, because all is you. I remember I'd written a book actually called You, Your Own Universe. But for whatever reason, I never released it. Maybe I should look into that. And it looked at how life is literally you and how you wanted to make it yours by moving it into a universe that was realized and served. So guard your thoughts, beloveds. Disengage from situations, people that create any kind of hellish thoughts in your mind that pull you into hell. Because it's like we live in this energy field. And where we are, like there's so many different dimensions right here. And they're all dimensions of thought, beloveds. How you feel will determine the life you live. And if you start going into living in your higher mind, it will take you on a whole adventure and journey, beloveds, that will pull you out of this hell on earth that so many people are mental prisoners to. There is so much, whether you're in lockdown, whether you're in between jobs, whatever your circumstances are right now, whether you're working from home like I am, whatever your circumstances are, there is something that you can be doing to transform your life. Are you in heaven or hell, beloveds? How do you know? By that inner dialogue. That inner dialogue is key to your transformation, beloveds. And right now, Babylon is doing everything to create this hopelessness vibe, when it's just the opposite. As I said before, we're in the worst of times, but for some of us, we're in the absolute best of times. Tuko pamoja.